Now, we did a session, I think last May, on teaching and learning, and I don't want to go over that detail here, although I will draw on a couple of slides I used at that point. But one of the, I suppose, learnings that came out for me as a consequence of those discussions was that despite our best intentions, often classroom practice becomes focused more on the curriculum rather than its integration with teaching and learning strategies and with assessment for learning. That there's a tendency, so when the rubber hits the road, to actually sort of allow the curriculum content to dominate rather than our sort of control over the integration of that with teaching and learning and assessment for learning. And I think in highly effective schools of the type that we've been talking about today, those schools resist that challenge and are absolutely sort of focused on infusing curriculum with a variety of teaching and learning strategies, and increasingly with the assessment for learning approaches as well. And I think that does require a strong leadership on your part, and leadership which is actually quite sort of clear about what definition do we as a school give to effective classroom practice, and that we do that in increasingly precise and sort of operational terms, that we have a very clear view of what teaching and learning looks like in our schools. Now, you know my view on this. I've shown you this slide before when I've talked about sort of a classroom practice as being the integration of curriculum content, teaching and learning processes, and social interaction, the sort of ethos that we create inside the school. And I think I've also quoted Lawrence Downey's little dictum that a school teaches in three... Oh, sorry, wrong slide here. Sorry, I'll go back to the previous slide. Downey's dictum, the school teaches in three ways: by what we teach, by how we teach, and by the kind of place we are as a school. And we pay very careful attention to that, and we've seen, sort of a fairly vivid example of that in Trish's school in the video today. Now, I think you've got a particularly good opportunity in Victoria for engaging with this issue at the present time. We were a little bit in front of ourselves, I think, Lena, by having these sessions last May on the 5Es programme, because the state has taken quite a long time to catch up with us. But
you know what's happened with it, David? When we went around to our schools, schools have actually taken it on board. They've researched it, because there is information about the 5Es, around. We haven't invented it, and schools have taken that on board.
Sure.
Themselves.
Sure.
Prior to the department.
Sure.
So we're a step ahead. So
Absolutely.
That's been a real bonus.
Yeah. Well, I think we should continue to be a step ahead of this. I'm not the world's biggest fan of the 5Es approach. I don't think it's going to do us much harm. I think we demonstrated in the workshops we did last May that we can work within that framework. This is an example taken from one of the drafts that you've seen at the big day out. It's expressed. It's sensible. It's developmental. It's expressed in sort of behavioural terms. So I think it is a framework that we can actually work with. But once again, the leadership challenge is to work out, well, how does this apply at this point in time to my school? All right, and this is what I want to just give a little bit of focus on in the next couple of minutes. Because you're familiar with my sort of framework of teaching, and I tried to demonstrate last time. I think it's fairly compatible with the 5Es approach. And I've been talking about sort of teaching skills, teaching relationships, teaching models. And one of the debates we had yesterday, one of the predictable debates that I have when we're discussing teaching, is, oh, David, you're being far too technical here, you're being far too prescriptive. Teaching is an art, Good teachers are touched by the hand of God, And when she does that, one becomes a teacher, and we mustn't, a fantastic teacher, and we mustn't sort of interfere with their sort of personality and the artistry that they bring to the classroom. And of course that's true, right? But of course that's, I shouldn't say this on camera, but of course that's bullshit as well, because it is not an either or here. It's not just the science of teaching or the art of teaching. They both come together. And it just seems to me that we now increasingly have pretty precise knowledge about what constitutes effective teaching skills. We know less about how we develop high-quality relationships, but we know it's pretty important. And there is knowledge, but a lot of teachers don't access it, on the range of teaching models.